Good evening, students. I am Dr. Nikhil Saket. I'll be talking about the subject economics for finance at the intermediate level. I'll be talking you in detail the importance of the subject, the different weightage and the skill that has been required for the preparation of the paper, and how this whole preparation process has to go ahead when you are studying this subject, because the student at the intermediate level has already had a basic understanding of the subject economics at the foundation level. So at the intermediate level, students are already knowing basic things about economics. Here at the intermediate level, updation of the knowledge in different aspect of economics is required, and accordingly the syllabus is been designed so that you can be updated about the latest what has been happening around, and it also create an interest for you to be updated. Now the thing is, economics is a subject which is a dynamic subject. It's not a static subject. So you have to have an understanding of the concepts. Apart from this, you have to also look around that what new things is been happening in the Indian economy. Because generally when you open up the pink newspaper in the morning, there are different economic news that has been appearing in the newspaper, and mostly the concepts which has been there in the newspaper is basically more or less is part of your syllabus. So if you are through with the concept, if you are thorough with the concept, it will be give you an edge to understand the subject, even the news that has been appearing in the newspaper in a very lucid way. So that is why this subject is very important for you. And in the exams also, although it is combined with financial management and economics of finance, the financial management is having weightage of 60% and economics for finance 40%. But overall, it's very important for you to have a grip on the subject economics for finance. So basically, the objective of the paper economics for finance is to develop an understanding of the concepts and the theories of economics, and to acquire the ability to address application oriented issues. Because over the period, even in the recent times, the question that has been coming in the examination is more of application oriented rather than direct questions. So application of mind and application of the issues is very important while solving or while answering the questions that has been appearing in the examinations. Now the division of the paper, I had just told you, when the new scheme that was implemented in 2017, although the new syllabus is been introduced from 1st July 2023, as per the last syllabus which was implemented from 1st July 2017, the syllabus of paper 8 is divided into two sections. First is financial management, which is carrying 60 marks, and section B, economics for finance, which has been carrying 40 marks. The marks division should be adhered to in the question paper, because generally the marking pattern which has been there in the syllabus is been adhered in the examination system also. So your subject economics for finance is consisting of 4 units and is of 40 marks paper. Now the Board of Studies also provide you the study material which has been very important for preparation of the subject and having a basic understanding of the subject. Now, the stress of the study material is on the theory and basically on the clarity and the intent of the learners. As a student, what are the basic questions that comes in the mind of the student is being taken care of while designing the study material. So it's very important to go through the study material diligently, because mostly the questions which is been asked in the examination is from the study material only. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Uh, the learning outcome put across at the beginning of the each unit help orient the learners to focus on key concepts. The end of the chapter summaries are intended to integrate the discussion. Now, one thing that has been very important is at the end of the chapter, basically the summaries are there. Now, at the fag end of your preparation, or when the exam is approaching, or one day before the exams, if you don't have sufficient time, you can revise the summaries also, because earlier you have already studied the content in detail. So that will also give you an edge to understand the content which is there in given in detail in the syllabus. It is to be noted that the weightage has been allotted to various topics and the weightage has been disclosed in the syllabus. The weightage is both skill wise and the topic wise, which means out of the 40 marks, the weightage of knowledge based questions will be of around 24 to 32 marks, and application based question should be of 8 to 16 marks. Basically, the first question number 1 is compulsory, and rest out of the 3 questions that you are required to answer, there are questions of 2 to 3 marks each, which is been asked, covering all the syllabus and the weightage that is been given in the syllabus. So you have to study the whole syllabus holistically, because you cannot ignore one unit or the other unit, because generally it is a concise syllabus, and the content is also given in such a way that it is important for you to understand all this concept at the intermediate level, because when you pass your accountancy examination, chartered accountants, or you become a chartered accountant, these concepts will be helpful for you throughout your life. So definitely it is important for you to understand the concept and also give sufficient time to the paper, Economics for Finance. The first unit is basically determination of national income, where we are talking about the macroeconomic aggregates and the measurement of national income, which carries a weight of 20 to 30%. It also includes determination of national income, Keynes 2-sector, 3-sector, Keynes 2-sector basic model, 3-sector and 4-sector model, multiplier and other allied concept which has been there, that has been discussed in detail in the first unit, determination of national income. The second unit is very important, that is public finance, because it is concerning the economy at large, and all the important concept like deficit and budget making and all others is part of public finance only. So this is very important. Here in public finance, again, the weightage is 20 to 30%. And here we are talking about the fiscal functions, the market failure, and how the government intervened to correct the market failure, and the importance of fiscal policy, the contractionary, the discretionary fiscal policy, different types of fiscal policy that has been discussed in the unit public finance. The third unit is money market. Again, the weightage is 20 to 30%. Here we are talking about the concept of money demand, the different theories of demand for money, the concept of money supply, and most important, the monetary policy. Because the fiscal policy and the monetary policy is very important for the economy at large, because that both determine the direction how the economy is performing and what measures to be taken to put the economy on the growth trajectory. The last unit is of international trade, that again carries a weight of 20 to 30% marks. Here we are talking about the different theories of international trade, instrument of trade policy, trade negotiation, exchange rates, international capital movement, FDI, FPI, etc. So this is how the syllabus economics for finance is been divided. So first we are talking about national income. Second, we are talking about the detail of public finance. Then in the third unit, we are talking about the money market. And fourth, we are talking about the international trade. So all these four units are very important for the student to understand and to also understand the practical application of the concept which has been given in the study material. Now, as per the pattern of question is, question number 1 is compulsory and it consists of 10 marks. There are sub questions also that is consisting of 2 to 3 marks. Numerical questions is there. Some theoretical questions are also being part as a combination of the question number 1, which is a compulsory question. And again, question 2 to 5, again, this is of 10 marks each. Out of the next 4 questions, the student is having the option to select 3, that again consisting of 10 marks each. In all the questions, in the subsequent questions also, mostly the questions is of 3 and 2 marks only. So accordingly, the combination is been made, and thrust of the question setter is basically to give equal importance to all the 4 units that is part of your syllabus. Clear? Now, things which is very important, read the study material concept-wise and practice different questions that has been there in the BOS study material. BOS is also coming up with the revision test paper, the mock test paper, practice mock test paper, revision test paper. Then refer to the previous suggested answers, complications, etc. to be observed to understand the complexity of the questions, to develop a clear understanding and of the concept and its application. While preparing for the exam, give equal importance to both the theoretical and the numerical questions that is been asked in the examinations. In economics, graphs and diagrams are very important. The students should also practice the same, because if you understand the graph and the diagram correctly, 50% of the concept you will be able to understand. And the derivations, if you read the content diligently, then definitely you will be able to answer the questions correctly also. Then try to establish linkage between the concept as they are interrelated. Now, suppose personal disposable income is there, personal income is there, private income is there. Now again, the calculation includes one or the other concept that is being taught across in the unit national income. One should not mug up the formulas, but try to understand the formulas, how that is been obtained. Although these are not very complicated formulas that need to be derived, there are simple formulas. Only addition, subtraction is been required. What to add and what not to add. That will only able to you can understand if you understand the concept clearly. Then that vision is also coming to you that you will be able to clearly attempt the questions and also do it correctly also. Practical practice numericals on regular basis to score better. Try to correlate the concept with what is happening around in the economy, because the purpose is of studying economics is all the concept that has been appearing in the newspaper is part of the theoretical concept which has been taught in the subject economics. So you can easily understand all these concepts also. Then the first unit is national income accounting. I'll be briefly touching upon the various concept, because although that has been given in detail in your syllabus, but I'll be briefly touching up on all the aspect that has been there in the syllabus. So national income is defined as the net value of all economic goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country in an accounting year, plus net factor income from abroad. Now, why national income is important? Because the economic welfare depends to a considerably extent on the magnitude and distribution of national income, size of per capita income, and growth of these over time. So that is why national income is very important. Then the concept of GDP, which is equal to the value of output in the domestic territory minus intermediate consumptions. There are other terms which has been there in national income, like GDP at market price, NDP at market price, NNP at market price. Now again, if you calculate GDP at market price and you have to calculate GNP at market price, now you have to add net factor income from abroad. Now, if you had calculated GDP at market price and you have to calculate NDP at market price, now you have to deduct depreciation to calculate NDP at market price. So these are a simple concept, and these are very much doable with little bit of practice and understanding of the subject. And this is quite scoring also, because if you do it correctly, if you understand the formulas correctly, you will get 100% marks in the numericals that is been asked in the examinations, because there are few steps that is to be calculated and the reward is the maximum you can achieve. Then there is personal income. Personal income is a measure of actual current receipt of a person from all sources. Then there is disposable income and there is private income. Now, if you want to calculate private income, now what you have to add up is the factor income from domestic product accruing to the private sector plus net factor income from abroad plus net national debt interest plus current transfer from the government plus other net transfer from the rest of the world. So you add up all the components, you will get the value of the private income. Now, there are three different methods of calculating national income. First is by production method, second is by income method, and third is the expenditure method. Now, the purpose of this, that all the methods gives the same answer, but the perspective from which they are calculated is been different. So it is a cross check too, and it is important also that we have different methods to calculate the national income. So accordingly, the national income is calculated by production, income, and expenditure method. Now, if you had to calculate national income by production method, you have to, gross value added market price is equal to value of the output minus intermediate consumption minus intermediate consumption, which is equal to sales plus change in stock minus intermediate consumption. And if you have to calculate national income by income method, you have to add up compensation employees, operating surplus, mixed income of self-employed, and net factor income from abroad. Now again, if you have to calculate operating surplus, now operating surplus is again an addition of rent, interest, and profit. Sometimes in the examination, you have to calculate the value of rent, interest, and profit is been given, and you have been asked to calculate operating surplus also. Sometimes you have to calculate as part of the income method. So accordingly, whatever the data that is been given in the question paper, you have to analyze the data, and you have to add all this data, the combination of which give you the desired result. Then there is expenditure method, which is again the addition of private consumption expenditure, government consumption expenditure, gross domestic capital formation, plus net export. So it is very important to understand this three methods, because generally questions is being asked in the unit national income accounting, where you have to calculate the GDP, the NDP, the GNP, and frequently the questions is been asked in the examinations about how to calculate national income by any of the three methods that we had just discussed about. So understand the concepts clearly and practice the formulas that has been given in your study material. The next is the Keynesian theory of determination of national income. There was classical and there was Keynesian theory. Again, the detail of the Keynesian and the classical theory, because Keynes do not agree with what the classical economist had taught about. So the argument which has been put forward by Keynes is market would automatically lead to full employment level, and the resulting natural level of real GDP. The economy could settle in equilibrium at any level of unemployment. Keynes believed that price and wages are so flexible, they are sticky and especially downwards. While the classical economists maintained that the economy is self-regulating and achieving equilibrium at the natural level of real income of output, which is the level of GDP, and that is obtained when the economy resources are fully employed. So sometimes a distinction between classical and Keynesian economics is being asked. Then there is a two-sector economy where consumption function is expressed as a functional relationship between aggregate consumption expenditure and aggregate disposable income. C is equal to F is a function of Y, while the consumption function proposed by Keynes is C is equal to A plus BY, where B is the marginal propensity to consume. Sometimes in the examination, you have to been asked to calculate the marginal propensity to consume, where C and Y is there, and the value of A is also given. So accordingly, you can calculate by using the formula C is equal to A plus BY. In the three sector model, again, aggregate demand is in the three sector or the closed sector economy consists of three components: household consumption, business investment, and the government sector, that is G, C plus I plus G. The government sector generally imposes taxes on household and business sector that effect transfer payments to household sector and the subsidy payments to the business sector, purchase goods and services, and borrows from the financial market. So all these are interdependent. So again, in the three sector model, you had to understand that what are the components which is to be added. In the four sector model, the foreign sector has been added. So Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. That is export minus import. So this is how the fourth sector model is been explained, and that is been given in your syllabus. And generally questions on Keynesian economics, the two sector and the three sector model is been asked as part of the numerical questions. Sometimes some concepts like multiplier and all other stuff is also been asked, like marginal propensity to consume, marginal propensity to save, this type of small questions that is been asked. So which has been exclusively elaborated in your study material. Then comes the second unit, that is public finance. Is a very important unit because it is the state, the economic functions, the fiscal functions, which is called the public finance functions, is very important. Richard Musgrave introduced the three branch taxonomy of the role of the government in a market economy, namely the resource allocation, the income distribution, and the macroeconomic stabilization. So these are all important functions in public finance. The role of the government in the economic system is basically the allocation responsibility of the government involves appropriate corrective actions where private market fails to provide the right and desirable combination of goods and services. So the intent of the government is to allocate responsibly to all the citizens of the country. Then again, the distribution functions, where the equity and the fairness and the well-being of the people is prime importance, and that part is taking into consideration in the distribution function. The stabilization function is basically concerned with the performance of the aggregate economy in terms of labor employment and capital utilization, overall general price level, economic growth, and the balance of payments. So all the three functions is very important. Although the demarcation looks easy, but again there is a conflict between the different goals and the functions. And the challenge before any government is how to design its budgetary policy so that the pursuit of one goal does not jeopardize the other. Means the equity, justice, fairness, all other part is been taken care of while designing any process. Here in public finance, we talk about market failure. Now, market failure again has four components, that is market power, externalities, public goods, incomplete information. The, when market failure is a situation in which the free market fails to allocate resources efficiently, in the sense that there is either overproduction or underproduction of particular goods and services, leading to less than optimum market outcomes. The demand side market failure and the supply side market failure, both are there. The demand side market failure are said to occur when demand curves do not take into account the full willingness of the consumer to pay for the product, while the supply side market failure happens when supply do not incorporate the full cost of producing the product. So if imbalances is there, then which results in market failure. The four important reasons for market failure are market power, externalities, public goods, and incomplete information. So these are very important from the exam point of view, because generally in the exams, the reasons for market failure, the different all the four regions that has been identified, that is been out defined, and what are the other component that has been associated with market failure, the regions has been asked in the examinations. Now, excessive market causes the single producer or the small number of producers to produce and sell less output, and would be produced and charge a higher price in the competitive market. So again, the balance is to be maintained, and the government intent is that everybody is equally competent and equally been given the chance to purchase the good that has been available in the market. So the justice and equity is been established in the economy. Then asymmetric information, which means that imbalance in information between buyer and seller is there, whether the seller knows more than the buyer. Now, this again distort the choices. With asymmetric information, low quality goods can drive high quality good out of the market. Then again, important concept of moral hazard is there, where the opportunities characterized by informed person taking advantage of a less informed person through an unobserved action. So these are to be taken care of. Then again, effect of subsidy, support price is also there, which is again important. Generally, government used to intervene in the primary market, which is subject to extreme as well as unpredictable fluctuation in prices. For example, in India, in case of many crops, the government has initiated the minimum support price program as well, procurement by the government agency at the set support prices to help the farmers in getting the minimum support prices. Again, that is derived based on certain parameters which has been set for calculating the minimum support prices. Then comes the important concept, that is fiscal policy, which basically involves the use of government spending, taxation, borrowing, and to influence the pattern of economic activity and the level of growth of aggregate demand. So again, all the components that basically determine how the economy is progressing is basically taken care of while designing the fiscal policy for a particular economy. And all these components are taken care of, because generally if there is some lacuna, the effort has been there to fill that gap. The significance of fiscal policy as a strategy for certain socio-economic objective was not recognized widely before 1930 due to the limited role of the government advocated by the prevailing laissez-faire approach. Now, after 1930, the importance of fiscal policy is being realized, and it is one of the most important policy to basically fill the gap where the economy is lacking. So fiscal policy is in the nature of is a demand side policy. Now again, the third unit is money market. Money is used as a medium of exchange, a measure of value, a store of value, a standard or post payment, a unit of account, the basis of credit. These are all functions of money. Sometimes in the examination it has been asked. There is different theories by Milton Friedman. Then there are sources of money supply, how the money is coming. And most important thing is the RBI, which is publishing data on the four alternative measure of money supply, which has been determined as M1, M2, M3, M4, beside the reserves money. Because generally in the examinations, a lot of questions is been asked how to calculate M1, M2, M3, M4. Now, this is the classification. This is the standard classification which has been given by the RBI, and we had to remember the concept. And this is a standard classification which has been given by RBI. So we cannot tinker on which is with the concept. We have to understand the concept, and sometimes the data has been given, and straight away you have to calculate M3, M4. Now again, if you calculate M1, then you can calculate M2, then M3, then M4. So whatever the component that has been there, remember it correctly, because generally, mostly in the examinations, questions is been asked on the classification of money. And money multiplier is money supply by monetary base. Then again, the important concept is monetary policy. Basically, this is the instrument at the disposal of the central bank to regulate the ability, cost and use of money, and the credit to promote economic growth, price stability, optimum level of output, employment, balance of payment, stable currency, because ultimately failure on any of the front will create problem for the economy at last. So RBI through regular monitoring and through regular intervention try to maintain the balance in the money supply market. And the major objective of monetary policy is basically the price stability. The inflation is being taken care of. Then economic growth, which is again an important part. Adequate flow of credit and efficient allocation of government securities. So these are the four important objectives of monetary policy. Then concept of cash reserve ratio, SLR, statutory liquidity ratio, is also important. So you have to understand these concepts, because generally quarterly review of the policy is being done, and accordingly seeing the growth pattern of the economy, the rates are being designed, which is having a repercussions on the economy. Taking into consideration, the target is basically to control the inflation and the growth in the economy. So these are basically taken into consideration while designing the monetary policy. Few years back, monetary policy committee was set up, which consists of 6 members, which determine the policy rate to achieve the inflation target through debate and majority votes by a panel of experts. This expert deliberate, seeing the economic conditions prevailing in the economy, and accordingly fix the rate for a period of time. So every quarterly they used to review, and accordingly, if change has been required in the policy rates, they used to change the policy rates. And the last unit is international trade, which again is an important part of your syllabus. Here, there are different theories of international trade: the mercantilist view of international trade, the theory of comparative advantage, the theory of absolute advantage, the Hexer-Ohlin theory. These are all important theories in international trade. The mercantilist theory advocates maximizing export in order to bring more precious metals and minimizing imports through states imposing very high tariff and on foreign goods. Comparative advantage by Ricardo is important theory in international trade, which states that a nation should specialize in the production and export the commodity in which it has absolute disadvantage, and import the commodity in which it has absolute disadvantage is greater. So basically, Ricardo was talking about the specialization in goods where the country is having comparative advantage. Then there is a theory of absolute advantage by Adam Smith, which states that a country will specialize in the production and export of commodity in which it has having absolute cost advantage. Then again, our important theory is the Hexer-Ohlin theory, which is also referred as factor endowment theory or the modern theory, which states that comparative advantage in cost of production is basically explained exclusively in difference in factor endowments. How far the factor that has been available, accordingly the country can take advantage of the trade. Then price equalization theory is there, which states that international trade equalize the factor prices between different trading nations. Therefore, with free trade, wages and return on capital will converge across the country. And the last is the new trade theory, which is the latest entrant in the trade theory, which explain the two concepts of economies of scale and the network effect, which affect international trade in a major way. So basically, the Krugman theory is talking about the scale and the network, which is again very important. as part of international trade is concerned. There are different forms of tariff which has been imposed for facilitating international trade, like specific tariff, ad valorem tariff. There are different types of tariff which has been imposed on the goods to facilitate international trade. Then anti-dumping duties, that is again important concept in international trade, because generally dumping occurs when manufacturers sell goods in a foreign country below the sale prices in the domestic market or below their average cost price of the product, which means it will be hurting the domestic producers. So this sort of strategy is also been implied in international trade. So there are anti-dumping measures like additional import duties to offset the foreign firms to take unfair price advantage that is being imposed by the government to curtail dumping of products in the domestic market. Countervailing duty is also there, which are tariff to offset that artificially low prices charged by the exporters who enjoys export subsidies and tax concessions, which has been offered by the government in the home country, because these are different concessions which has been given by the government to facilitate trade in the home country, and through trade take advantage of the product advantage and the absolute advantage that has been there, and specialize in the product which they are having advantage, because the world is such that no country is self-sufficient in each and every product. So in an interdependent world, the countries can take advantage of the specialization, or can learn through technology transfer, or try to produce that product in their home country, taking into advantage the resources that has been available. These all sort of facility, or this sort of strategy has been applied in the domestic territory to facilitate international trade. Now, effect of tariff to reduce the prospect of market access, make imported good more expensive, increase consumption of domestic goods, increase domestic revenue. Tariff barrier also creates obstacle to trade. So through tariff, the anomaly in the system is there that it is been tried to be reduced. Then trade negotiation, regional trade agreements is there, GATE, WTO, there are different multilateral agreement is there. Recently in India, the G20 had happened, and again, the major point of discussion is to take advantage of each other specialization and to facilitate international trade. So basically, whatever the block is, or whatever the hindrance in the development process is there are different negotiating forums that has been there with developed and developing countries to come to a particular forum and negotiate the problem and try to come with a strategy or a solution to overcome the disadvantage in international trades. Then There are major guiding principle of World Trade Organization, which is basically the negotiation between different countries, a forum that is there. Trade without discrimination, most favored nation clause has been there itself. Free trade, predictability, general prohibitions on quantitative restrictions, greater competitiveness, tariff, transparency in decision making, market access, a transparent, effective, and verifiable dispute settlement mechanism is there, so that any disagreement or any disadvantage that has been creeping up in one country can be sorted out through negotiation in terms of trade and through settlement of bilateral issues through negotiations. There are few concerns of WTO, which is again is important. That is slow progress of multilateral negotiations, uncertainty, inadequate or negligible trade liberalization, because facilitating trade through liberal policy is not always coming up from the different countries. Then protectionism and lack of willingness among developed countries to provide market access, because market is a very important component in important place, because if you can produce a product and you cannot have a buyer of that particular product, now you can take advantage of that. So access to the market is also important in international trade. North-South divide, which is again a very important point of discussion at the G20 summit that has happened in Delhi, and African Union is been added as as a new member of the G20 group. Then trade escalation, erosion of preferences, difficulty with regard to adjustment to each adjustment. These are some of the major concern of international trade. And generally in this topic of international trade, generally what are the concern of WTO, what is the advantage of WTO, what are the different trade theories, what are the advantage, disadvantage of a particular trade theory. This sort of questions is been asked. What is countervailing duty, what is anti-dumping measures, what is dumping as a concept. So this sort of small questions is been asked in the examination. So accordingly prepare questions, so or read the concept so that you will able to comprehend that. Sometimes we used to get a lot of queries from the student that the concept has been elaborated in the study material, how much to write, what to write. See, the point is, for 2 marks question or 3 marks question, you don't have to write 2 pages or 3 pages. Only thing is, the content that you are writing is not contradictory to what the concept is. Sometimes it happens that student used to write contradictory statements that is not related to the concept. So write in brief, but write what has been required or what is been required for elaborating the concept. That is very, very important. So, and that will only come up when you revise the concept regularly. Whatever the doubts that has been there itself, you can clear the doubts. Board of Studies is also organizing live learning classes. You can attend the live learning classes where experts used to teach the subject in a very simple way. Take up whatever the queries that has been there coming from the students. There are recorded lectures also. There are very practice module that has been available. So only thing is you need to work hard to clear your examinations. Then exchange rate, and its economic effect is there, which is also important, because exchange rate is the rate at which the currency of one country exchanges for the currency of another country. And in an international trade, stability of exchange rate is very important. Then there's a concept of devaluation, depreciation, fixed exchange rate, floating exchange rate. So these are all important concepts in exchange rates. What are the advantage? What are the disadvantage? What is the nominal exchange rate? What is the real exchange rate? These are all part of your syllabus, and you need to understand what is the distinction between the two. In 2 marks question, you've been asked what is the real effective exchange rate, which is nothing but domestic price index. Nominal exchange rates into domestic price index by foreign price index. It's a combination of that. So you need to remember that concept, then how the exchange rate has been determined. The foreign exchange markets where concept of arbitrage, hedging, that has been discussed. Introduction of spot and forward market is there. Then again, capital, international capital movement, where we are talking about FDI and FII. FPI, foreign portfolio investment, that is important. What are the advantages of FDI? What is the advantage of FPI? What are the disadvantages of FDI, FPI? This sort of questions has been asked. What are the different modes of FDI? Then again, what is greenfield investment and what is brownfield investment? So these are the concept that has been there in your study material. So kindly revise this concept. Now again, I am showing you a paper that has been asked in the May 22 examinations. Basically, it will clear you how the questions is been asked. Like in economics for finance, just I had told you different figures or different components has been there, like sales, intermediate consumption, closing stocks, opening stocks has been there, and you have to calculate gross value added at market price, NDP at market price, operating surplus, which I just told you, rent, interest, profit, that has to be added. So that sort of questions has been asked. What are the just now I had talked about the advantage of foreign portfolio investment. So what are the features of foreign portfolio investment? 3-4 important features you need to identify. I had talked about the government distribution, government functions, where again government intervention is there, equitable distribution, stabilization, and allocation function is there. That again a question is been asked. Then precautionary motive, speculative motive, the different motives of demand for money has been there. So again, question of how to describe the precautionary motive has been there. So the questions is not like it has been of 10 marks or 15 marks question. There are simple questions. If you revise your concept clearly, if you understand this and devote a certain amount of time, you will score very good marks in economics. Flow of income, discretionary and non-discretionary policy. What is aggregate demand function? I just discussed about it. What is the different types of tariff? What are the different objective of fiscal policy? So this is how, again, I had discussed about the different classification of money, M1, M2, M3. Here, different data has been there, and you had to calculate M1, M2. Uh, so that is how the question is been asked. Like a question that has been asked is like, uh, what will be the market outcome when somebody is playing loud music? It is regarding externalities, uh, wearing of mask during COVID pandemic. So what will be the market outcome? So you had to analyze that. Again, uh, a question on how to calculate private final consumption expenditure, factor income from abroad. So these are basically the question that has been asked in the exam is not a complicated one. If you devote time in understanding the concept, revision of the concept, uh, what is been, don't uh, go try to be a specialist in everything. What is been given in the study material is sufficient for you to have understanding of the subject and to clear your examination with flying colors. So this is how uh, you need to prepare for the subject. Apart from this, uh, revise the concepts, practice numerical, because there are 2 marks, 3 marks questions, and these are not very complicated questions that has been asked. If you know what is to be added or how the particular concept is been derived, you can score 100% marks in that. So this is how you need to take care of the subject, because you cannot neglect any of the subject in a professional examination like chartered accountancy examination, because all subjects are important. And again, the most important part is uh, this will help you when you become a chartered accountant also. Because here we are talking in the foundation level, we had talked about the micro aspect. Here we are talking more of a macro aspect, because as an economy at a large, um, the aggregate part is very important rather than the individual forms. So to have a holistic grasp of the subject, try to learn the subject. It is an interesting subject. Try to correlate the concept that you have studied, and you will score good marks in the examination. Okay, all the best. Thank you. That's all for today in economics for finance. Thank you. Good day. Yes, thank you.